All right. Tallahassee area, Panhandle area, Panama City, Beach, and Big Bend area high school football fans. Welcome to the Overtime Scoreboard Show. This is Mark Adams with Four Quarters Online. I'm here with Coach Cofield, my partner. And it's been an exciting week number 10. It was business as usual for some teams, but man, we had an absolute knockdown, drag out game. We're going to get to that in a minute, but let's go ahead and jump into some scores. Not going to waste anybody's time here late on Friday evening, but Thursday night, Mosley wrapped up the district championship in the Battle of the Dolphins against Gulf Breeze as Mosley took it to Gulf Breeze 48-7. And man, for Mosley, this looks like they are one win away from having a perfect 10-0 season. And for Coach Tommy Joe Whitten and his gang, this is where we have always talked about throughout the season just how dominant they looked. And got to give credit where credit is due. Anytime you can reach perfection in the regular season, you're doing something that is really setting your program up for annual levels of success year in and year out. So congrats to them. That was a great win. Kind of expected them to cruise in that ball game, but they got a date against Florida High to close out the regular season next Friday, and that's going to be an interesting matchup.
You guys are going to be there. We're going to stream that game. It should be exciting, Mark. And
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
looking forward to Florida High is improving every week, but I don't know about this Mosley football team. These guys dominate on both sides of the line, tough in the trenches, and they beat everybody. Did they have a close game this year? I don't remember one.
Niceville.
Yeah, that was the only one, and then they pulled away at the end.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So
this is a very good football team, and as our partner Andrew Jupe had predicted early in the season, these guys were going to be that kind of good. So looking forward to seeing them next week here in the Big Ben in the capital city.
So we got quite a bit of action from around the area. Let's go ahead and jump into some Friday scores. Childs takes it to Leon, blanking the Lions 40-0. For Childs, I think this is the third win on the year for the Timberwolves as they nab a good one. I think on what would be, I'm not sure if it was senior night for them, but there are a lot of senior nights going on around the area. You're not sure who's doing what, but the Timberwolves pick up a big shutout win against the Lions. And, I talked about it last week. I'm saving my pick for Leon next week. I think the Lions get it done.
Who do they play, Mark?
They play West Side out of Jacksonville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that might be the game. I think that might
I'm
be
hoping for William. I'm hoping for William Mosley. It's been a tough season.
Yeah.
And they hadn't even come close in the past couple of weeks. So hopefully.
This is what Bobby Bowden talked about. He said first you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, then you win big. So hey, this
Mark,
is beginnings of something good. Because Coach Mosley, he's a good coach. That's
let me tell you something about that philosophy. You lose big the first year, you might lose close, but you might not be there for that third year. So you need to hurry up and start winning because the reason they bring you around is that they want you to win. And I hope that he starts to win, get these guys together. He lost a lot of players before the season started, and I think hopefully he can get it started. Maybe looking forward to next year.
Yeah, I think that one of the things about the way that the city just operates, it's always parity. One team is up, another team is down, and that's just how it goes. But Leon is going to have a great opportunity to be able to grab that first win next week. So, but tonight it was about Childs taking it in this particular game in great fashion, a great shutout win for Coach Reagans and his bunch. Moving around the area, Lincoln takes it to the Commodores 38-17. It was Trojans big time in this one as they got the job done. Defense, again, name of the game for Lincoln. This is one of those where you look how Lincoln operates on defense, and they really make a statement early. They just frustrate teams. It's very difficult to move the ball against the Trojans. I know that they've had a couple of games where they went into a very tough Niceville environment and still figured it out in the second half. And this was just an angry Lincoln team that was not happy about that loss, and they really took it out against the Commodores in a big win for the Trojans. Moving on around the area, man, this one was, man, if you're a Raiders fan, man, you got to be frustrated. But if you're an Arnold fan, hey, congrats. I know that was a great win for the Marlins, but man, this one featured a lot of yellow flags. And do with that information what you will. But I think there was about per our source, I think there was about 17 to 20 flags thrown. So that's a lot of yards.
It mess up the flow of the game with all those flags. Some things you can kind of overlook as an official. And if you're throwing flags on every other play, and then you get the game, it slows the game down. The players don't get in a rhythm, and then you kind of like you're out of the game. And that game was only a 2-point victory for Arnold. That's not good.
Yeah, I think for the most part, the Raiders offense just kind of struggled. And that's not atypical of what we've seen of them. We know they have the ground attack that's there, but again, when you're trying to run the ball, and then of course, one penalty after the next kind of stacks up against you, it just makes for a very difficult, night, especially to try and sustain drives. And I think that was the tail of the tape for Ricketts tonight. They were able to get out to an early lead in the first half, leading 7-0. But let me make sure I got that correct. Let me go back and check the stats on that one. But it just looked like Ricketts had let me make sure I got it straight. So yeah, it just looked like there was just a lot of what looked to be like a back and forth kind of game, but the Raiders just fall short in this one. And for the playoff, chances, this was the one. I don't know that Ricketts could have. I don't know that they could have afforded to have dropped this one. They were sitting at 4-4 going into this game, and this, the last two, losing close like that is disappointing. But for Arnold, this really increases their chances as far as moving up. To be able to secure a particular placement in the playoff rankings when they come out again next week. But man, this is how it goes. You got to have those close games.
Ricketts played very well defensively. They had a goal line stand right before the half that turned the Dolphins away. They were on on the 1 yard line, couldn't get in on the Ricketts Raider. I almost mispronunciated and said what my mascot name was, but they got down there on the goal line, and Ricketts turned them back.
Yeah, but shout out to Jalen Wiggins. He had 4 sacks.
Oh man,
that's a heck of a night. So
All-American.
That's to the U.S. Army All-American. Was showing off why he was a U.S. Army All-American. For Ricketts, they close out the regular season next week against Lincoln. That's going to be.
Wow.
I think you could throw the records out on that one, because that's anytime you got a cross city matchup like that, it's just going to be one team going against the next one. I don't think the records really matter. But a side note, hearing from Josh at Florida High School Football, there's a lot of 70-point plus games going on around the area, and we're going to get into that one right about now. John Paul 74, FAMU High DRS 0. Wow. And Coach, you mentioned it. Coach Hughes at John Paul, head coach there is a Baby Rattler alum.
Yes,
so
yes, and
a little bit of irony in there.
Man, he came back home with a vengeance. The score at halftime was 58-0. So I guess they took their foot off the gas in the second half, and I guess it could have been worse. But they put up a big number. I guess they had to do a little bit more than McClay.
Yeah, John Paul was sitting right there on the fence. They came into that game 4-4, and I think when you look at what it takes to get into the playoffs and really secure your spot, I think looking at how the point system worked, even though John Paul is the district champion and has the head-to-head win over McClay has more points. So I think this one was just, it's not about really, it wasn't really about running up the score as much as it was, how do we get, how do we improve our chances of moving up in the playoff rankings? So
it's crazy.
I don't agree with it. I think, we really had a good system that was working, and now we've gotten to something that just kind of creates more chaos, but it is what it is. But again, Panthers a big winner over FAMU DRS, 74-0. There was some cool, there was some good clips. I'm gonna see if I can pull up some of those.
Oh man, why? Why you gotta bring the clips?
But we'll save that for the Extra Point podcast later.
I mean, hey, it don't matter, Mark. But, I like go ahead. If you want to pull them up, pull them up.
I'm gonna keep it rolling here. We got a lot of scores to get through. McClay, a big winner, a really big winner over Deerfield Windsor, 28-21. And man, McClay, when you lose one of your starting key pieces on defense, it really affects you. And getting back one of the areas leading tacklers and BB Potter, it showed tonight as McClay really took it to Deerfield Windsor. I really just kind of kept them flat-footed for most of the night. I think McClay jumped out to an early lead and never really looked back from that point. And this looked like a more determined McClay squad. I know that they kind of had a couple of letdowns here in the middle of the season, but this could be setting up a potential rematch if things kind of hold correctly in the playoffs. We might be seeing a McClay and John Paul rematch later on down the road. So this will be different. This will be a different ball game moving forward. We're not sure about hosting or anything like that because it's still nothing that's still been finalized according to the playoff system. But congrats to McClay. That's a big win over it's late in the season to be playing a Georgia opponent, but the schedule is the schedule, and they got it done 28-21 over Deerfield Windsor. Madison County Downs Apopka 13-7. And we talked about this game and just the mystique of Boot Hill. Some people just can't, and most teams can't just walk in there and walk out with a win. And Madison showed why as they were able to down Apopka 13-7. And for Madison, that just improves their playoff positioning as they are knocking off a team. I think Apopka is what, 6A? Is 6A 7A school?
I'm not sure about that. You can look that up for the Extra Point. We'll know for sure. But that was a program that you wouldn't imagine a smaller school, a rural school, going to beat Apopka. I mean, that's in the past has been one of the top programs in the state of Florida. And although Madison it is difficult for anybody to go to Boot Hill and win a football game.
I know Lincoln might have something to say about that this year, but most teams can't walk out of there with a win. So
yeah, it's difficult.
How about this one? Wakulla went into Glen St. Mary and came out with a huge win over Baker County.
That was a surprise.
Now, I maybe for some, but I know that for me, I just thought that, man, Baker County at home just it just looked like such a tough place to play, and Wakulla just walked in there and said, "Nah, you walk into your trap, take over your trap." It wasn't even a question. And for Cleves under center, like, he looked really poised. Wakulla looked a lot improved, especially on the offensive line. They just created a lot of space for their playmakers to do what they need to do. And they came out of Glen St. Mary with a big win over the Wildcats. War Eagles increased their playoff odds. So don't look now, but Wakulla, and I'll check the record again, but with that, I think that, and let me double check just to make sure. But with the win, Wakulla improves to 6-2 on the year, and they still got. I think they've got another game against. I think they've got another makeup game in the bonus week at the end of the year. So Wakulla could definitely make a lot of noise and improve their playoff positioning as they round out the latter part of the season. So this is going to get real interesting going down the stretch because the War Eagles may have took a stumble here in against Godby in earlier in the season against Taylor County, but they've only got 2 losses and they still a very good, formidable ball team.
Yeah, Mark. But it's not nothing unusual. Wakulla, it's always at this time of year they seem to stick their head up, always in the hunt, always a team looking to go in the playoffs, and possibly could go and make a big a a run this year when the times you don't expect it. They're a very good football team, plays some quality competition, and I think that I don't know the points that we hadn't checked the points for them, but it's going to be tough. They're going to be a tough out if they get in.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on around the area, Lake City, Columbia, big winner over Clay, 49-13. And for the Tigers, that win came at the right time. That was kind of what the doctor orders. They, I think, and I'll pull up their record in just a little bit. But for Columbia, that was kind of one of those where you had to have one, and I think that they came up with one in a big way. Moving on around the area, Swanee, a big winner over Atlantic, and Atlantic definitely had some playmakers, but I think Swanee is probably one of the more improved teams going down the stretch in the second half of the season now. After starting the year, I think they were 1-5 at one point, and then don't look now, but they've ripped off I think 2 or 3 straight. So the dogs are not going away quietly, and stranger things have happened, but the way the system is working in the playoffs, the Bulldogs are not quite out of it yet. So we'll have to see how things work out. They've got another date with Childs, and I think they got that makeup game with Wakulla, which will determine a lot.
Oh man!
So we'll have to keep our eyes on that one, and definitely just kind of keep our eye on that whole entire region. Even though Godby is a district champion as they wrap that up, but there's still a lot of football left to be played.
You would have to bring that up again, right?
Well, people need to know who the champion is to see where their school plays. Like you got to have useful information. That's
they didn't play this week, so
Cougars are off taking some much needed rest, along with quite a few teams are off this week.
You didn't have to bring it up. That's all I got to say. They didn't play tonight. We going over scores.
Yeah, Mariana's off too. There's quite a few teams are off, and I think looking at around the area, I think the only 2 teams that should have played that weren't there. Chipley's another one. Chipley's off tonight. So, but yeah, let's keep on rolling. This one was a surprise to me as Branford, really Jefferson and this one was a surprise to me. I thought that Jefferson would be able to kind of bounce back from the tough loss at Liberty County the week before, but they fall to Branford 43-30. And for the Tigers, it's just kind of like, man, you don't want to lose that momentum because that really affects your playoff positioning. And then number 2, you don't want to be limping into the playoffs either. So
no,
yeah, Tigers definitely took a stumble here in the past couple of weeks, but hopefully they'll get a chance to right the ship. They got a date with Port St. Joe to round out the regular season. So that's going to be a really good matchup for them. But everything is still in front of them. They've been able to do most of the legwork thus far, but you definitely don't want to end that. You don't want to end your season with 3 straight losses. So Tigers will look to bounce back next week as they fall to Branford 43-30 tonight. Blountstown, a huge winner over Holmes County, 40-20. And this is what the doctor ordered. Don't look out now, but like you can see where Blountstown is headed as they pick up their 4th straight win. Go just kind of, looking at how they stumbled in September and they really surged back in October. And this is what Coach Wagner was talking about, just the resiliency of his team as we talked to him earlier in the year. But this is, the Tigers are putting it back together slowly but surely. And they've got a date with Walton to close out the end of the season. But this is a big win for them. And they definitely look like a playoff team or returning to playoff form. And if things work out correctly, they might be in great position to host in the first round. So we'll have to see how that works out in the 1A rural division. moving on around the area, Lafayette, a big winner over Franklin County. And, we talked about this earlier. Lafayette, very quietly, took on a very tough schedule. We talked with Coach Cooper at Franklin County, where they had a big senior night. But, a lot of what this matchup really presented, for Franklin County was just, this is what Coach Cooper talked about. The first half of the season was, playing and getting kind of, getting into a rhythm and making sure that they were doing the right things. Got a lot of playmakers. Took a loss to Cottondale, bounced back against Weewa Hitchcock, and then boom, here comes Port St. Joe, here comes Lafayette. And then that sets up a huge showdown with Alcilla Christian, who remains undefeated, as they were a big winner tonight, 49-0 over Spring Creek. So that's going to set up a huge game going into next week. I don't know how I need to keep tabs on this game, but
where's that game being played?
That's going to be out in Monticello at Alcilla Christian, which is a great atmosphere. If you've never been to a game at Alcilla Christian, you got to go.
Yep, great concession.
So Franklin County falls to Lafayette 39-6, and Alcilla was a big winner over Spring Creek. So we'll be looking forward to seeing those two, Alcilla and Franklin, face off head to head. But for Lafayette, this is going to be an interesting scenario because right now Lafayette is sitting at 4-4, and so that kind of take a toss up because the way that the playoff system works down in the lower, you got A and B. So we're not sure which bracket they're going to fall into. And they don't have an opponent for their bonus week because they missed out on their Hurricane game that got canceled earlier. So they're really kind of scrambling right now. We'll have to see if we can get a hold of Coach Edwards to get more on the situation. But if they can find an opponent to plug in, that only will help them moving towards the playoffs, not hurt them. So we'll have to see what shakes out for Lafayette and see how that works out. But it's really going to be a wild situation as we get closer to the playoffs. Some other scores from around the area. Let's look at Trenton, a winner over Hamilton County. I picked the Trojans, man. I thought Hamco was going to steal one here. And, man, Trenton's kind of shut the door on that one as they take it in what was really this felt like a old school Pac-12 game with a high scoring affair, with Trenton winning, going away 50-46 over Hamilton County. And Hamilton County, I think, was on the road.
Mark, in fact, Hamilton County, I think, led most of the whole game.
Yeah.
And I had assumed that they were going to win because they had a nice lead, and all of a sudden I checked back and Trenton took the lead and won the game, and I'm like, that was a surprise.
Yeah, Hamilton has 2 wins on the year, and going into the game, Trenton only had 1 single win going into the year, and they said, "Nah, senior night, we gotta go out with a bang." So that's the mystique of senior night. Senior night just kind of gives you an extra. I think senior night got to be at least worth a half a win or at least 3 good quarters of football out of even if you're having a down year. So unfortunately, Hamilton falls in this one. 46-50 in a very close ball game. Moving on, Port St. Joe blank sneeze 24-0. And hey, and this is one of those where you really have to look at everything that Port St. Joe has been through this year.
Right.
Of course, losing Chance earlier in the season, and this team is bounced back and they're playing very inspired football. They've picked up a pair of wins. They're now sitting at 4-4 on the year. And Port St. Joe has a lot to play for going into their last game of the year against Jefferson County. So there's a lot here that's still just kind of up in the air, where we've got a lot of teams that have been kind of scraping and clawing to get back to 500. And if you can end the season on a winning note, that's only going to help you. And looking at the way that they've been able to get back, just kind of I would say just resituate their season playing very inspired football. And of course, they've got all the reasons in the world to play for one of their fallen teammates. And, this has been an embattled team over the years, as they've lost they have lost quite a few kids just to different tragedies. And this is one of those where it's personal for them. So make no mistake, it is definitely personal down in Port St. Joseph. You got to play the Tiger Sharks down there on the beach, just be prepared. That's going to be an
It's
extra tough
tough.
environment to go into.
It's a tough place to play. And if I'm not mistaken, Coach Powell was on that staff from Jefferson County, so that might be a very interesting
Yeah.
matchup. He should know a little bit about this Port St. Joe. Man, I don't know if that'll affect the game, but hey, knowing somebody is when you coach and kind of get the tendencies and going back to a place where he coached. Oh, you said they coming to Jefferson, right?
No, that game is going to be down in Port St. Joseph.
Oh, well,
Jefferson most likely is for.
He's got to go back and where he coached, and it's going to be a tough, tough time down there. It's not easy. Played coached a couple of games there. It is very difficult to win. Great crowd. The kids are very enthusiastic. You got to bring your A game, or else you'll be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we get closer to the end of the Week 10 slate, Cottondale handling business as usual. And they are one win away from going 10-0. And I can't remember the last time Cottondale
They
put
can't.
together a perfect season. So this could be historic as they will round out the season with Josh Christian Academy as they're a big winner over Vernon tonight, 56-12. And this is one of those where you just got to kind of keep your eye on the Hornets, because this is one of those teams that is really they're kind of in legend mode right now. They're in legacy mode, should I say? So this has just been a great season for them. And anytime you go 10-0, I don't care what it is. 10-0 is 10-0. You have put together a great season, and one of those things about the way that the playoffs is shaping up is that this is going to be, the best football is probably going to be played right here along I-10. I don't even need to tell people.
It's something going on in Jackson County.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got two teams that possibly go 10-0.
Yeah, between Mariana and Cottondale.
And
Yeah.
Cottondale, man, it's that you go into that county, you're gonna have a tough time coming out with a victory.
And this is one where it's just like, man, we just missing Graceville. If we could get
man, they didn't even play this year.
We'll have everything back the way it's supposed to be. So,
but Sneeze had a down year, is a rare thing for them. But Mariana and Cottondale both going undefeated. Maybe they should play each other for county supremacy, as a bonus week.
Yeah, this should be a Jackson County Bowl game. You got to do that one.
I'm telling you, I'd love to see
for
that.
The culture, you got to do that one. But yeah, the best football right now is being played along I-10. I would just tell you, go argue with whoever. That's my opinion. But as we move on around the area, Bozeman a big winner over North Bay Haven, 41-9, and for the Bucks, they've got a lot to play for as they are now sitting at 5-4 with one game remaining against Bay, and that's going to be a huge game.
Wow!
As both teams, Bay is the district champion in a different class, but for Bozeman, this is only going to help them as we get closer to the playoff selection time. Walton, a big winner over Freeport, 55-6, and the Braves got, in my opinion, I think the Braves are really in prime position to be able to move forward into grabbing one of those playoff spots. They took a stumble at Pensacola Catholic, but this is their fifth win on the year, so that puts them at 5-3 with one game remaining, and that's going to be against Blountstown. So, man, we got the heavyweights coming in, and this, I like it. I hope nobody gets hurt, but this is one of those where it's just like, to round out the year, you couldn't ask for a better slate of games for Walton and Blountstown to link up, of course, with some other teams. And then to round out the slate, we got Bay, a big winner over Rutherford, holding off the Rams in a Bay County showdown, 21-13. And for Coach Brown, I think that was exactly what they needed. That just bolsters their they're already the district champions, but that just adds to what I feel like is a pretty good win. They're sitting at 4-5 right now, heading into their last game against Bozeman. So Those are your week 10 scores, and we pretty much got everything on lock for week number 11. And keep in mind, we want to let everybody know there's a bonus week that comes after week number 11 where we're going to make up some of those hurricane games. So there's still plenty of football left to be played before the playoffs start. So we're going to have everything broken down. Hopefully next week on the Extra Point podcast, we'll be talking about playoff football, certain scenarios, the rankings, and how that shapes up for every team across the area. So we want everybody to make sure that they're locked in. The Four Quarters Online. We'll be going live on Wednesday nights with the Extra Point podcast to make sure that we give everybody the information. But this is the Overtime 4Q scoreboard for the Panhandle, Big Bend, Tallahassee, and Panama City Beach areas. My bed is calling me, Coach. I know you about to go grab some Z's too. Want everybody to stay safe, and we'll catch everybody next week on the Overtime Scoreboard show by Four Quarters Online. I'm Mark Adams, and this is my tag team partner, Coach Cofield. We'll catch everybody next week.